Call to order this June 14th, 2024 public hearing of the City of Prescott Preservation Commissions. The members present are Marianne Suttle, James McCarver, Richard Sprang, Diane Travis, Michael King, and myself, Mike Mirko, the chair. We have staff, Kaylee Nunez, our Historic Preservation Specialist, George Worley, Planning Manager. We have Mary Kay, say your last name, I just get so.
Mary Kay Wissenand.
Wissenand, there we go, our Recording Secretary, and our good mayor, Mr. Phil Good. Oh, and Miss Cantelme just walked in. There she is in the back. And I thought I saw Mr. Gambogi. Did he leave? He left. Okay. Well, there you have it. This is an open public hearing and is being recorded by the city. The proceedings are being televised by representative of the public media, local cable, and radio stations, and may also be rebroadcast. The members of the commission are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It will take a majority vote to pass. All parties wishing to be heard will be expected to state their name at the podium, speak clearly and loudly and to the microphone. Please put all your phones and whatever electronic devices you have on mute. Thank you. I'll turn this over for the agenda.
Minutes from last meeting. Oh, roll call. We need to do roll call.
I did the roll
Well,
call.
We did 6 present. Okay, and so minutes from the last meeting.
Yes, we're going to approve or deny April 12th's minutes, and I believe we're also doing May also minutes.
May 10th.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve our April 12th, 2024, May 10th, 2024 minutes.
do we have a second on that?
Diane Travis, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Passed. We're changing up the agenda a little. We're going from bottom up instead of top down. So you want to go for the first?
Item 3C, HP 24-008, request for installation of 2 new wall signs and 1 awning sign and refurbished blade sign for National Bank of Arizona at 210 West Goodwin Street.
Okay, thank you.
We have a representative here. Good
morning.
Well, I'm going to do my presentation first, and then we can call up the
For the
representative
bank?
for questions. Yes.
Oh.
Okay, good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Kaylee Nunez, Historic Preservation Specialist for the city. So this item, of course, we heard last month, and the commission asked to defer it because the applicant wanted to propose a slight design change. So 210 West Goodwin Street, formerly the Galloping Goose. It is currently being remodeled to house National Bank of Arizona. Showed this photo last month. That photo on the right is probably from the late 1910s, early 1920s. So the building, like many buildings on Whiskey Row, was built after the Great Fire. It was a general store, then a saloon and liquor store. In the 20s, it was remodeled to be an auto dealership and remained that until I think the Galloping Goose moved in the late 1980s, early 1990s. So the building is on the National Register of Historic Places. Here's a aerial map at the northwest corner of Goodwin and Montezuma. So the proposal largely remains the same. 2 new wall-mounted signs on the eastern and southern elevations, as well as an awning over the ATM, which will be on the eastern elevation. They will be reskinning the blade sign on the southern elevation and adding a logo. There is a small blade sign that's proposed on the southeastern corner. So the signs will have vinyl lettering, acrylic facing, and will be illuminated. So this is a rendering of the revised design on the eastern elevation. So if you look back, what all they did was add the logo to the left-hand side. So we deem that option number 2. Here's a nighttime rendering. So the design, I reviewed it against Chapter 8, the Courthouse Plaza National and Local Historic District. So in part it states, use only integral and natural colors that are compatible with the district. It does say lighting shall be by incandescent fixtures only. Box type signs are not acceptable. However, the Galloping Goose did have a box sign, so it's in a sense grandfathered in. The use of canvas or fabric awnings is encouraged, and 1 perpendicular sign per business activity is permitted. So we would consider that the blade sign pictured. So, conclusion, proposed signage, excluding the southeastern blade sign, will not adversely impact the historic status of the building nor the district. And I don't know if it's on one of these renderings. It's certainly in the agenda packet. You can kind of barely see it on the left-hand side of the building. The previous tenant installed that little blade sign. They did not get a permit. Suggestion is that it be removed. So there's the recommended action. I am open for questions and comments, and of course, we have the applicant present.
The applicant here? Would you like to state your case?
Taylor Lamb on behalf of the applicant from Yesco. Then I can just answer any questions. The ownership would still like the blade sign approved if possible. The existing sign has been there for over 16 years. So when they purchased the building, they were under the impression that that would be allowed. It's been in the design packet since originally.
Which sign are you talking about?
The blade sign that's right there in the bottom left corner of the building. And then the option 2 shown here was a request if we could not have the blade sign, if we could switch to this option.
Can you tell us how big that sign is?
The blade or the new cabinet?
Blade.
Bear with me 1 second. It is.
And how tall off the sidewalk it is?
It's 11 feet off the sidewalk, and the sign is 2'3" by 2'3".
7 feet off the sidewalk?
Yes.
Any comments from commissioners? None?
This is Jim McCarver. Kaylee, just refresh my memory. Didn't we talk about having them remove that sign last?
Yes, and I'm fairly certain that was added in the last year or 2.
We found, if you go on Google Earth, you can see all the way back to 2008 when it was there.
Okay, so it might have been removed for a little while, because either way, the logo on it, I think it was for beef jerky. That's fairly new. So, I mean, you know, it's not a big deal, but my recommendation is to remove it.
Well, I have a question, Chair. Combined signage, is there a certain footage we have to adhere?
That's reviewed under the zoning code. So I think they are at their maximum for each elevation. So technically, yeah, that little blade sign would kick it over. Not much, but again, that will be reviewed at time of permitting.
Sorry, with the blade sign, the calculation we're still under. With the new logo and the removal of the blade sign, it's over.
Yes, that's the option too.
Well,
Mike King here. I'm reading the recommended action. Moving to approve would say you're allowing both blade signs. Is that what I'm hearing?
If you just did move to approve either option and stopped it there, yes. Now, if you add the condition to remove the southeastern blade sign, they would have to remove the small blade sign.
Okay, I think I understand then. Thank you.
any discussion further? Any other questions? I got none.
This is Jim McCarver. So it would appear that the blade sign is not something that would be grandfathered in like the other sign.
I guess I have to look back at Google Earth. Like, I know for a while it was not there. Or at least my memory serves me. It's, and we can focus on this,
The recommendations are only one perpendicular
Yes, only
sign.
one perpendicular sign. That's also in the guidelines.
And for clarification again, Mike King, and that means they can choose either one, either location.
Yeah, I mean, they could choose to omit the large blade sign. I wouldn't recommend that because that's adds more to the character of the building.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Is there any way, sir, that you can, the one on the south side of the building, the signage, with just your logo, would it just put your NB/AZ at the bottom of that and be done with it?
Hi, I'm Jason King. I'm the Senior Vice President for Corporate Properties for the bank.
Oh, you might have to speak closer to the microphone.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
I'm Jason King. I'm the Senior Vice President of Corporate Properties for the bank. The way we looked at the sign is that blade sign there on, I call it in Goodwin, forgive my directionals, south, okay, on the south side there. We really love that image, especially if you're up at the courthouse and you're out in the plaza and you're looking back towards our building. It really looks nice. I'm not sure if we have there's one image that I really enjoyed, which was you saw that blade sign off to the side. You saw just our name nice and clean on the front of the building without the logo. And then you saw the swirl above the ATM with the name and an ATM, right? It really tied it all. If you were out there in the courthouse grounds looking back towards that building, it made for a really nice view, right? So the little southeast corner sign, the one sign that I really kind of never thought was going to come into any question is the one that came into question. That's more for just as you're walking down the street, if a lot of the bars take cash, right? So that's kind of one of the things as a bank we're looking for. It's like if somebody's looking for, I need to grab some cash, they can look down and they see it. It hopefully will help some ATM, right? Usage. So that was where the reason was we wanted to keep that logo. My marketing team was not fond of the big, nice National Bank of Arizona clean across the building without the logo, but I showed them where the city of Tucson said no logos, so they approved the city of Tucson, so now you get to approve it over here for Prescott.
Frankly,
so that was
I
the
think
reason
it
we
looks
wanted
nice.
to keep that little blade sign. We were underneath the full square footage of the sign package for the area. So we thought it was going to be kind of a no-brainer. I don't think we realized the whole blade thing, though, Kaylee. I don't think we realized that there was only one.
It's
blade
not a
sign.
big deal.
And that was kind of the reason that we kind of went this route.
So you could just recommend option for the first one and then just leave off the condition to remove, if you want to allow that little blade sign.
This is Jim McCarver. I think we should abide by the rules and regs. One perpendicular sign per business.
Okay.
Well, I like the suggestion. Do we want to make a motion, anyone?
Chairman Rick Sprain, I'd like to make a motion to approve HP 24-008, but with the condition of removing that southeastern corner blade sign.
Now, real quick, would you like to approve, would you guys favor option 2? You can do that. You have the square footage allotment. So do you want the logo?
That goes
On
into
the-
required square footage. So is our approval on this option here override the required square footage?
No, and I have to, I mean, I just reviewed this from a preservation standpoint. We could always scale it down too. So then I don't know why it was submitted if it's over the square footage.
You understand, we were understanding that we got approved here and override that.
Oh, no. So we'll just do the original
the-
option.
So would one option be that we either, that blade sign that's sitting on the south side, right?
Yeah.
You know, along Goodwin. So if we did not put the logo on that, would that blade fixture have to come down? Because that's kind of built into that. We were just going to
No,
skin
it's-
it so it doesn't leak. It's got some water
Yeah.
leaks.
So the in the zoning code, the allowed square footage for wall-mounted sign is based on the individual wall frontage. So, on that eastern side, that wall is about 50 feet long. So you have about 25 square feet there. And then obviously the southern side is longer, so you have a greater allotment. So you'd be fine.
So I think what I was trying to ask was like the what I call the blade sign, which is the one that sticks out towards Goodwin
Yes.
Street. So if we removed the logo on that, but still just reskin that so it's a watertight
Yeah. Yes.
fixture because it's got some leaks in it, and kept the smaller one above the sidewalk with our logo and name on that, would that suffice, or is that it's kind of more of a marquee sign off the side of that one? So if we
Remove
left
that.
if we removed the logo off of that,
Yeah, I guess
And just
technically you
reskinned it
could
to-
have the other one.
and then just
getting
reskin
very
that so it doesn't
complicated.
leak anymore, and
And you're saying leave this sign that we're showing on the screen?
we would take that logo off of there.
Gosh, I think it looks great.
I,
I like it. I'd rather have that than
No.
the one sticking
Yeah.
out. But again,
Okay.
that's up to you guys.
so could it be one or the other? Is essentially.
That would be my suggestion.
I don't have an issue with either. In fact, I like both. So my confusion is with this motion, and it hasn't been seconded yet. What are we voting on? I've heard the discussion. Now I need to clean it up just a tad for me.
Would you repeat the motion, Mary Kay?
The current motion is to approve with condition to remove the southeast blade sign.
I'll second that.
Should we take it?
So
take it to
you
a
are
vote?
approving-
All in favor? Oh,
So you currently have a motion to approve with the condition to remove the southeast blade sign, and McCarver has seconded.
Did that explain it, Marianne?
Yes.
all right. So, in favor? We have three. Against?
Michael, okay, so it is a tie.
It's a tiebreaker.
Failed. So how do we proceed? We need to propose another motion. Okay, so I think we've been presented with too many options at this point, and it's getting a little
More rustic. Could
diluted.
could I throw something out? So what if we chose not to illuminate one of those signs? Would
That-
that make any?
Illuminate which one?
The illumination doesn't make any difference.
Oh,
Doesn't
no,
make any
I,
difference.
So,
at night I like it. It looks great.
yeah. Okay, so if you want that little blade sign, again, it's not like a hill I'm gonna die on. So you could just say, recommend action, move to approve option 1 of HP 24-008.
And that would allow that blade sign.
Yes.
Yes, Jim McCarver. My feeling is that we have the standards, and somebody else is going to come back and maybe push it a little bit further. I think we should stay with allowing one perpendicular sign, and taking the logo off of the larger blade sign doesn't alter the fact that you still have 2 perpendicular blade sides. If you took the big one away and kept the one at the southeast corner, then that falls within the regulations.
Mike King here. I'd like to clear up the term regulation. There's flexibility here, in my view. Yes, one is permitted, but we have the ability to offer the opportunity. Some of us like both signs. I'm
That's
okay
okay.
with both sides. I'm okay with both signs. That's why I voted where I was. I don't want to take anything down from what they're proposing. You can have both of them.
Okay.
That's
Yes.
where I'm coming from.
That's
And we
an
have the
option.
flexibility to do that. We are not bound by any regulation. If all other things being equal about maintaining the historical integrity and the continuity and the size and all this other, it's fine with me. So the signing is a minor issue here for me, and I support the signing.
Well,
Okay.
let's hear a motion. We have to make another motion,
Move
right?
to approve option 1 of HP 24-008. That would allow both?
I'm Mike King. I make a motion to approve HP 24-008, which includes option 1.
I'll second that.
Let's vote again. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? So it's been carried. There you go, fellas. Thank
Thank
you.
you all very much.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, next item. All right, 143 South Alarcon Street. So this property is located within the boundaries of the Southeast Prescott Local District and East Prescott National District. So it is a Queen Anne cottage built between 1910 1920. It is not listed in the National Register due to the window configuration in the front was changed at some point, apparently significantly enough to take it off the register. So, but again, we are reviewing it because it's within a local district. Here is an aerial map showing its location. Second in from the northeast corner of Goodwin and Alarcon. Okay, proposal. So install 28 lineal feet of 4-foot wooden fencing across the front of the property, and then 19 lineal feet of 4-foot high chain link fencing on the front south side of the home. So here's 2 site plans indicating where the fencing will be. So you see the L. The bottom of the L would be the chain link, and then what spans across the front is wood. And so this photo is provided by the applicant. The wooden fencing in the front will match the railings, or less. So I reviewed the design against Chapter 10, East Prescott National Historic District. There is not a chapter created for Southeast Local District, but East Prescott is the most comparable. So in part, Chapter 10 states, several homes utilize various designs of simple wood picket fences, which contribute to the character of the district. It also says the use of chain link fence should be discouraged. So the wooden fencing will not adversely impact the historic status of the districts. Recommendation is move to approve HP 2410 or approve with condition that all proposed fencing be wooden. And I do believe you can see it in this picture. They have like the regular wooden fencing on that south side. I think it's called dog-eared. I don't know what that style is. That could be an option too for them to carry across that southern side. And that is all. We do have the applicant present, the homeowner, if you have any questions for them.
Good morning, Diane
My name's
Travis.
Daniel Zorich. I own the property being described.
Good morning, Diane Travis. I have one question for you.
Go ahead.
I have been by the property, and it appears on that south property line that there's currently a privacy fence on the back half. I'd like to know why you're choosing to go with chain link.
There are trees that were planted by the previous homeowner that are 10 inches off the property line. They're trees. They're not smaller plants. As they're growing up, they're coming onto my property. The chain link fence wouldn't prohibit them from growing a little bit, but it would stop it from sending very large branches out later in life. I don't know if you could see it in that picture, but they're evergreen trees.
So I guess I'm a little confused. A wooden stockade fence would stop them from coming over, but a chain link they could go through. I don't understand that.
It's already coming onto my property. I thought if I put a chain link fence up, as these trees get bigger, they're going to push that fence down. They're going to move that fence. There's going to be a problem with it. They planted trees, young trees that are already like 8 or 9 feet that'll eventually be 20 feet. I don't know how big they'll be. But I was trying to avoid there being damage to the fence at a later point in time.
Do we have any other questions? I'm a little in the dark here. You're chain link, you're fencing this whole property in for privacy reasons, or?
No, so my dog can't get through
Okay, so, okay.
in
now-
between
now
their
it-
trees right now.
Okay.
Their trees are not a problem right now. They will be a problem. I was trying to make it easier by having a chain link fence for those things to grow without doing damage if I was to put up an expensive wooden fence. One other thing too, you can't see it on the picture, but the property line falls off to the neighbors probably on an angle of 45 degrees into where they planted the trees. And so the dirt is constantly shifting over because of the elevation of my property versus theirs, and you can see it there. Whereas a chain link fence, I could put some of that fencing down a little bit lower to stop that erosion factor from getting worse. I'm not going to be able to put in wooden fence posts down there that aren't eventually going to be exposed on a property line. I would have to move that fence this way to avoid that.
So looking at that picture, you're talking the left side
Yeah.
of the home?
And I just put in 7 tons of dirt fill to fill that side of the property line.
So you're proposing to put a fence here, wooden,
Right.
to match that,
Yep.
then here, chain link?
Right. Yep.
What about the other side?
There's already a fence with the neighbors.
And is that chain link or?
No. It's wooden.
So you just got up and talked about the chain link fence will be in the front of your property. that what you're asking for?
No, it's not in front of my property. It's on the
that's what I
side.
didn't
It's
think
on
so
the
either.
side, the
Yeah.
front
It's on the
side.
side,
So
yeah.
if you look at the site plan, see the L? The bottom of the L, basically the horizontal part, is chain link. The vertical part across the front would be the wood.
Thank you.
I don't see the difference in, you said there's a slope, putting wood in, you can still going to have to cement it in further down, whether it's a chain link fence, you putting a post in, you're still going to have to cement those in. And I don't see how a chain link fence is going to stop anything from going through it. I would think a wood fence would even have been a little bit better. I don't get or how you come to the conclusion that a chain link fence is going to be any better holding up dirt than anything else.
That's not the only point I was making. The point I was trying to make is my neighbor planted trees 10 inches from the property line, and the wooden fence is going to be affected by the growth of these trees. It made more sense to me to have the ability for those trees to at least have some of their little branches go through, as opposed to eventually hitting a wall.
And you're talking a 4-foot fence, though.
Right.
So won't the trees grow over?
Over it eventually. But in the meantime, they're going to be growing against that wooden
So they're not
fence.
4 feet. These trees are not 4 feet yet.
The trees are down 2 feet below my property line. Okay? They're already approaching 8 feet. Okay? And I'm just saying they're going to be full-size trees, and they are going to affect a wooden fence. I'm just trying to avoid having to replace my wooden fence at some point in the future and then trying to cut all their branches down.
Mike King here. I don't know how you get along with your neighbor. Can you prune these trees so that your 4-foot wooden fence is protected? It won't keep your dog in, but it's still.
I don't know how the people that live there have both passed away. The son is there now. Again, pruning the trees, I don't know how they're going to feel about that if I start cutting their tree. They shouldn't have put full-size trees 10 inches away next to my property line. That's my opinion, and they didn't ask. And I had conflict with the previous owners, but I don't know about the son, but I'm trying to put in what I think is logically the best thing to do right now. At some point in time, if the trees grow so big, it's going to be really strange for me to trim off that tree that's that far from my property line to accommodate any fence, much less just
I think we're getting off in the weeds, or the trees rather.
Yeah.
So let's
we
No,
need
it-
to-
go back to the
It is
fencing.
definitely a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't see an easy solution for those trees being there as far as how it's going to affect my property, because, like I said, they are full-size trees.
Could you bring that picture up with the grass and all, that one? And I guess I'm still confused.
Yeah, you can't see the trees from here. That's not the trees. No, they're there, but they're going towards you, to the front of the property. No. Yep. There's 4 of them that were planted there, and you can't see them in that picture. That picture is just a nasty group of vines that the neighbor put up to have privacy from us for whatever reason, I don't know. But the trees are this way.
Okay,
I think that we need to
so I
make
have a
motion
question,
here,
Jim
unless
McCarver.
you got.
It's recommended that wood fence be used. The chain link fence would be visible from the street. Is that correct?
That's correct. And they could choose, I assume doing the painted fencing to match the front railings is more costly than the wooden fencing they currently have on the south side. So they could just continue the current style they have on the south side. Either way, if it's wooden, it's more compatible.
It is our metal is not is discouraged.
Like if you do like wrought iron, you have those decorative wrought iron fences, those are acceptable, but chain link is specifically discouraged in the guidelines.
What about extending the solid fence that's further back all the way out?
That's acceptable. So that's why I just said be
That's
wooden.
not my fence, the one that's further back. It's the neighbor's fence.
Yeah.
That's already encroaching on my property.
Yeah, you could
Which
match
the
that.
city refused to get involved in. But that's for another matter. I would ask that you let me consider to put in a iron fence then. That would have a bigger gap.
Okay. Yeah, you could.
I mean, I could do that. But a solid wooden fence with those trees is going to be at some point a issue.
Yeah, I think we
I'm
need
good
to come
with
to a
iron.
conclusion.
So let somebody make a motion and move along.
Diane Travis, I move to approve with the HP 24-010 with the condition that the south fencing be changed to wood or wrought iron.
Wrought iron, okay.
Perfect.
I second.
I second that motion. Michael King.
Let's take it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, sir.
All right. Last but not least, okay. 201 and 221 South Cortez, site of, well, it's still operable, so we call it Old City Hall. Of course, we heard this last month. We just did an intro and study session on it. So on the right, you have the original building on the site, Howie's Hall. It was built in the late 1870s. It housed a lot of different uses. It was demolished in 1959 to make way for the current City Hall. So the City Hall was designed by architects Allen and Olson. They were pretty notable architects in Arizona. Let's see here. It was completed in 1962. Here's an aerial map showing the subject properties for the proposed project. What they'll do is they'll have to combine all those parcels prior to permit issuance. And I want to add that the current building is not on the National Register. At the time the inventory was done on it, it wasn't old enough. It could be eligible. However, there are some structural issues with it and flooding that the city's been dealing with for some time. So back to
Jim
the
McCarver, it is on the historic preservation. It's in the district, preservation district.
Oh, yes.
It is.
Yeah, it's in the courthouse plaza. So this is interesting. So the northern parcel is within the courthouse plaza national and local districts. Now, the southern end of it is within South Prescott National District. However, when they combine the parcels, we will amend the courthouse plaza district boundary to carve out that entire parcel.
So it'll be included in the preservation district at that time, that land.
Yeah, we'll have to amend the map. So back to the proposal. So some slight design changes were made from last month. Of course, proposals to demolish the existing building. Also note there is a annex building to the south there. You can't see it very well because the roof blends in. Legal was there at some point. That will be demolished as well. Now, that's not considered a historic building by any means. So demolish existing buildings, construct new mixed-use building, which will be a hotel. It'll have 2 restaurants, 2 retail spaces, 4 stories, ranging 48 to 53 feet high. There will be 127 on-site parking spaces and 109 guest rooms. So proposed finished materials, a combination of smooth face limestone and brick veneer on exterior elevations, as well as EFIS, which is synthetic stucco on the southern and interior elevations. So by interior, I mean the eastern elevations facing the alley. So the details you see, the molding, the cornices, the bulkhead panels will be a combination of EFIS and fiberglass cement. It will feature metal frame windows. And then there is a step back at the northwest corner of the second floor that continues to the fourth to accommodate that open air dining terrace, as well as articulation of exterior walls of the second to fourth. So that means, this is like the undulations on it. So here are some perspective renderings. The applicant has provided us with additional renderings as compared to the last meeting. So this would be, kind of viewing it from the southeast corner of the plaza. Then this would be across the street. There's a church there, viewing it across Goodwin. And then this would be viewing it from Cortez, kind of like where the Vendome is. Analysis. So, same as the last meeting, I reviewed this against Chapter 8, the Courthouse Plaza Local National District Guidelines. So the 6 elements I honed in on were building size, i.e. massing and scale, siding, windows and doors, materials and details, demolition, and other miscellaneous elements. I'm going to go into a little more detail this meeting. So the height exceeds the 48-foot district maximum recommended. A slight deviance may be considered due to its location. It's on its own on the corner there as opposed to right against other National Register buildings. The post office, the top of the parapet is 49, and then there's like an elevator overrun on the post office that goes to 60. So the massing is too large in comparison to comparable National Register structures. So the largest National Register structure in the district is, of course, the courthouse. And I put, all the dimensions in the staff report. There's, of course, more detail, but twice as long, slightly wider. The siding partially meets criteria. So the setback at the second to fourth floor for the terrace, as well as articulation of the walls, is atypical for the district. Again, the guidelines on siding favor like a 0 setback beyond the first floor. A lot of those turn of the century buildings, they were big rectangles, more or less. Think about the St. Michael's. But a good example of a setback at the first floor is like the Palace. They have that alcove. Windows and doors largely meet criteria. The vertical orientation is established. They created like faux transoms. You'll notice on the design, since the last rendering, they kind of beefed up some of the mullions to create that effect of transoms and then a single hung style, which is favorable. Also, the large openings on the first floor are in line with the guidelines. Materials largely meet criteria, so the combination of masonry is favorable. So the EFIS, again, the guidelines prohibit stucco. The idea, we said no stucco on elevations visible from the street. So they did revise that. The brick color was changed slightly to be lighter. And I know when we call up the applicant, he does have some samples Recommendation was to be red or golden, like the post office. So it partially meets criteria for demolition. Current building is not on National Register. However, the proposed building is considerably larger than the largest register contributor, the county courthouse. And here's a fun postcard image from Rick's collection of the post office. So I did send the submittal package to the State Preservation Office for their architect to review. She reviewed it against the Secretary of Interior standards, specifically for rehabilitation projects. Standards 3, 9, and 10 were applied. Now, I have these notes out of order. Of course, the most important one I placed. Here we go. So again, this is elaborated on in the staff report, but 3, 9, and 10, basically she selected the standards from the rehabilitation standards that apply to new construction. She determined that the proposed design met all 3 standards. So standard 3 says each property shall be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and use. Basically, buildings that create a false sense of historic development shall not be undertaken. Standard 9, and I'm trying to paraphrase this, new additions, alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. New work shall be differentiated from old. And then 10 is new additions and adjacent or related new construction shall be undertaken in a manner that, if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the property and its environment would be unimpaired. So the only recommendation from the architect was that the color selection be revisited to be more compatible with ranges found within the district. And actually, right now, what we're going to do before we get into your questions and comments, the applicant has a presentation. Shane, if you'd like to come up now. Oh, I believe George was supposed to go before me. You should have just interrupted.
I'm too polite to interrupt. I'm George Worley. I'm the planning manager for the city. Over the years, many years, I've had experience dealing with the Preservation Commission here and preservation activity elsewhere in the state of Florida, where I came from before moving here.
George, you have to talk louder.
Talk louder, I know, sorry. One of the things that I've noticed specifically with this project is the weight of it on you. This is a big project for downtown Prescott. It is a big project for the Courthouse Plaza district because of the scale of the project and because it is the first major reconstruction, redevelopment of any project within the district since it was created. Because of that, one of the things that staff has done, and Kaylee's done a very good job of going through and listing all of those concerns that staff has for compatibility purposes to help give you some boundaries, some guidelines, some insights into the things that we see as issues that we would like addressed during the process. But I think it's very important that as this proceeding moves on, you'll hear from the developer, and I'm pretty sure you're going to hear from the developer asking you specifically, if you can't support the project in its current design, what would you like to see different? The biggest role this commission has always played has been to give guidance to applicants about how to meet the guidelines. The more specific you can be, the better. The same is true whether it's deciding whether it's a wood fence or a wrought iron fence or a chain link fence, or whether or not it's this structure with insets in the front or this structure at 48 feet or 53 feet. if you can provide that guidance, I think what you will get back from the developer will be something that is much more compatible with the district than you may find this currently, based on some of the comments I've heard from you. Your specificity is really important. The reason we have commissions is to get a combination of brains together to give better input into a project. So please be as specific as you can, and hopefully we will bring you something back later that meets the requirements. And if you have questions about any part of the process, please don't hesitate. Kaylee can help with that part. I can come back up if necessary. But I think you will hear some guidance and requests for information from the developer who's really looking for you to provide him some direction. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Okay, Shane, if you want to come on up, and then IT, oh, they're on top of it. Let me give you.
Thank you, Kaylee and George, and thank you to the commissioners today for your time and for your service on the commission. My name is Shane Shumway. I'm with Territory Holdings, and excited to walk through the project again with you. We were here a month ago walking through the project, but we have made some changes based on your feedback from that meeting that I'll walk through. But I wanted to reiterate a point as well, which is, and there was some written feedback from the commissioners that I do want to address. Wherever we go, there is a desire for us to be good partners and good contributing citizens in the communities where we work and live. And I hope that, because I feel like there were some written comments indicating that there wasn't that desire on our part. And of course there is. We do have a desire to listen and to try to do the best that we can, given other agreements and other policies that we are also trying to accomplish. And so with that, today, as we go through this, I think there's various options at the end of this. One is you could approve it. Two is you could approve it with conditions, which maybe those are conditions we can talk about it. Or three is we could defer to, you know, if I have clear direction from you on what would get a clear yes, then a deferment so that I can do my best to try to make those changes. So I think those are the three options that the commission has today. And it obviously, I would love to just move forward with a project due to the time and other commitments that have already been made. However, again, we want to do our best to listen. With that, I just wanted to go through a quick presentation on some items that I thought were interesting and some things that we have changed since the last meeting. When Kaylee talked about the history of Howie Hall, I was really intrigued by that history. And the Charlotte Hall Museum has published some interesting information about what was there before the current City Hall, or the old City Hall building, was located there. So Howie originally envisioned a hotel at this location. That hotel had an L-shaped 10-foot porch that faced the streets at the corner, and you could see both the first and second levels of it there. It was used as a place to hold dances, banquets, political gatherings, and other meetings, including for the Masonic Lodge. And the upper floor had a meeting room. So in many ways, we're going back to the original history of the site. And we have tried to incorporate it. You'll actually see a detail that we've incorporated from Howie Hall into this. But first, let's talk about just the comments from last session. One is to replace EIFS with brick, which we've done. So on the main, those main parts of the facade, we have added brick, and I'll go through where those changes were. You want us to change the color of the brick to be closer to a reddish or closer to the post office, which we've done. You want us to remove glass panels from the balcony. We have done that. And as part of discussion today, I'll address the second floor setback, the height of the building, the massing. And also in the last meeting, I mentioned that we would provide additional renderings to show the context of the building as it relates to its surroundings. So the image on the left was the original, and on the right is what we've revised it to. As you can see, we've replaced some of those areas that had EFS. Is there a laser pointer on this thing? No. Oh, okay. Anyway, I think you can tell where it's been replaced as you look at that there. The guidelines allow for EFS accents, as we discussed in the last meeting. We do still use some EFS accents, but this Cortez and Goodwin Street elevation is overwhelmingly predominantly brick and stone. Any questions about these two things? You can also see how we've changed the glazing or the glass balconies to the wrought iron. Oh, okay. Yes.
Mike King here. I think it's the top left corner on the fourth floor of the original, and even the revised, I think. There's still some glass up there, or is that just panels between the rooms?
So that, we did not change those panelings between the guest room balconies. We did change, so you see where there's glass on that corner balcony and then also on the Juliet balconies. We did change those. And so if it's a necessary condition that we also change the guest room ones on that corner, we need to hear that feedback today.
That's just one room. That's the large guest room up there.
There's actually 3 rooms.
But they're bigger than the normal
divides.
rooms, and they're suites and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
That's right.
That's you're looking for some privacy.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you don't walk out the balcony and there's your neighbor right there. Those samples are the revised brick color and the limestone that will go on the base of the building. There's been some discussions about that second story setback that accommodates that area up on that second level, and the guidelines indicate, bring everything up to the property line. We felt like this helped with the massing of the building, but it also is just a neat amenity to have too as part of the project. And to me, it's consistent with the history of the site, with what Howie Hall did. And you can see Howie Hall right there, right? I mean, it had this porch area that people could use and look out over beautiful downtown Prescott. We actually took one of the details from the Howie Hall picture. You can see on that second floor porch, you see the railing. If you put that up on a second or third floor now, it wouldn't be consistent with code, because kids or whoever could step on the horizontal bars and then climb over. So what we did is we took it down to the first floor and we added it to that first floor area there. So in my view, this is consistent with history, but apparently the guidelines don't take into account the original Howie Hall history. So, all right. I want to talk about building. Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
You asked for comments on the last item, so I'll just give you mine on this. I like setbacks on this building for the same reason that you did. It takes away from the massing and the scale. It softens that because of angles and the like. If this was a 48-foot tall building with no setbacks, it would look like a Motel 6, flat-faced with windows and a little, an entryway. So I think the setbacks actually add to the character. I never thought the Howie Hall kind of that, but that's in the guidelines, no setbacks. But I think there's some flexibility there. Thank you.
Yes, Jim McCarver. So you're implying that St. Michael's Hotel looks like a Motel 6?
It has other features. Motel, first of all, it's not that big, it's not that tall, and it has other kinds of things that accentuate the traditional look of the time.
Yeah, and to that point, I think a lot of the dimensionality is intended to address massing. And I can discuss that a bit more in just a couple of slides. Building height. As I tried to make it as clear as I possibly could, the driver of height in the current design is the structured parking that we're adding into the building. And that causes things to go higher. Since the last meeting, we have taken out 2 feet. And what we're doing is we're just scrunching it down, but the interior feeling, I know you are worried about how the exterior looks, but I'm worried about both the exterior and how the interior feels. And the further we get scrunched down, really the more impractical it becomes and less desirable from the interior experience of the building it becomes. And so really structured parking drives that. And so changes to that would necessarily impact the structured parking. You can see on this slide at the corner of Goodwin and the alleyway, I think that says 46 feet 9 inches. Yeah, so that's the height there, 46 feet 9 inches, but at the corner of Goodwin and Cortez, it's at 53 feet now. Any questions on the height?
Sorry. What's the height going south on Cortez? Does that stay at the 53?
So when you get to the end of the building, you can see it there. It's at 47 feet 5 inches. That would be from the sidewalk to the top of it there. But, at that same corner of Cortez and Goodwin on this side, it's going to be at 53. Did that make sense?
I think you're talking about going down Cortez, weren't you? The direction of Cortez, towards the pool and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so 47 feet. At that end, it's at 47 feet 5 inches. Yes. And that naturally happens because the grade goes up, Cortez. Any other questions about height? These are the additional renderings which we commissioned to show the context of the building. So this is obviously as you're standing over on the courthouse plaza, you'd be looking at this angle of the building. This is down Cortez. So as Kaylee mentioned, by the Vendome, is that? Yeah. So that's approximately where you would be standing from that angle. And then this would be the angle further up Goodwin, closer to the opposite of the alley, where the alleyway is. So I wanted to briefly just discuss massing, and the RFP anticipates a mixed-use project. And also part of our agreement is to deliver a project that's a mixed-use project that has also a certain number of rooms, approximately 100 hotel rooms. So we're trying to do our best to fulfill our part of the agreement, but also comply with the historic guidelines. And on massing, one way to address massing in a building is to divide up the building and create offsets in it. And that's what we've done here, both along Goodwin and along Cortez. It helps the building to feel more inviting, more welcoming, and less imposing. So, Whiskey Row does it differently. Whiskey Row is on one facade, right? It's all one on the same facade, but it's 600 feet long. But it's divided up by different colors of brick and then also different heights in the parapet and different heights of roofs. I think at this point, so I'm happy to take any further questions. But our hope is today, again, if you're not a yes, or if you're not a yes with conditions, then what is it that we can come back with for the yes? And love to hear that feedback, or I'm happy to sit down at this point. So.
Thank you.
We have, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kate.
Do you have any more questions for the applicant while he's up here? I mean, he can certainly come back up, but.
I don't have a question. I'm probably a comment a little bit too. This is the revised. I'm colorblind, so I don't see all the colors I'm supposed to. And some of this, that's why I have to look over here. This is the revised picture, right?
Yes.
From the original, that's the one we're seeing is the revised. Okay, so now I see the difference. Thank you.
The one on the left was the original.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So let's move along to the right here a little more. One more picture. The one from Cortez, as you called the Vendome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll just make a comment before I ask more questions. But here, this is the one that, I think for me, it addresses the massing. Well, it doesn't address it. It's the most troubling because it stands there by itself. The rendering stands there by itself, and it looks like a large building, long, narrow, the rectangular, and the like. However, it's not the view from the courthouse plaza. It's a view on Cortez. See, that's a better view. That one shows a contrast with the post office. The one across the street from the alley gives a comparison as well to the post office, the one that's across the alley where the parking lot is for the church. There's something to compare to, the contributing buildings in the area. But the one it probably doesn't do justice, but it does show the other one, the Cortez one, where it stands alone. You don't have that contrast. And that might be one that people are troubled by the most. I'm not troubled by this one as much, or the one from the Goodwin Street across by the parking lot. Just an observation for you, And when I first saw this project with the original, and it still looks, if you go back from what I call the kitty corner, it looked huge, but it was all by itself. It didn't have I'll talk about scale later in my thing. It didn't have the building scale compared to contributing buildings. So just an observation about how we present this, and maybe more pictures of how it looks from different places on the plaza would have softened some of the concern about massing. Thank you.
Diane Travis, thank you for making the changes you have so far. I appreciate your willingness to work with us. I'm along the same lines as Mr. King with the Cortez side. The mass and the appearance reminds me a lot of a downtown Phoenix building. and just from the mass. And I'm worried about what the size does to the integrity of the district. At the same time, it does sit alone and it's not flanked by other buildings. That does help, but to reduce the appearance, I don't know. I understand the parking's in the back where you can't see a lot of it. I don't know if there's a way to square up the building rather than making it L-shaped to give it a smaller appearance, or separating it a little bit with the entrance into the drive or into the parking so that it appears to be more than one building. That's just a couple thoughts.
I think I can better address that question if I understand where the commission could be at in terms of height. And if the commission is, says you must be at 48 feet at every point. I need to know that first before I can start addressing the massing comment.
Sure. In my opinion, I went off the guidelines and the ordinances and focused on the wording shall and required. But at the same time, it says something shall be a certain way or is required to be a certain way, but then there's other buildings in the district that don't follow that. So I do think there is some wiggle room, and not being flanked on either side by other buildings that make it appear larger or smaller than the buildings immediately adjacent to it does help.
Maybe the commission is asking us to split the building up, or at least give it the appearance of not being one long building.
Correct. That would be my preference.
Okay. So, and please correct me if I'm not interpreting what I think I'm hearing correctly. Okay. What I would have to do is I'd have to take that feedback, go back and say, look, we have to split up the building, or at least give it the appearance of being split up, so it's not one long. Kaylee, how long is I think this is 300.
Yeah, so, vertical. So I measured from the main wall planes, the north to the south. So excluding the patio area, it's about 320 feet long.
Okay. And so the courthouse is 170 feet long. So we could split this up into two and making roughly each 150. If we try to do that, is that preferred by the commission?
I don't know if we're going to get a consensus on the answer for that, but let's keep listening to the public as well and some other things, and see if we can help you. We're into the problem solving now and giving you the input you're looking for.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, that's my recommendation.
And we will, so I'll take the controller back.
So we're going to have the public speak? Is that where we're
No, I'm gonna, before we have the public speak, I know Commissioner King, Commissioner Travis have given some pointed feedback. IT, if you could go back to my presentation. I'm gonna have each of you give feedback into the record. Before we do that, I want to go back to the issue of making it appear like two buildings. So this project, we've never had a project this size proposed. So some of the things, we're working with are uncharted territory in a way. The guidelines don't have a section that would address a building that appears as two or three buildings. So this is where the creativity of preservation comes in. which makes our roles fun, but also challenging. So if we could provide some input on that, that would be great. I think that my input on it is that it's a tool they could use. Now, whether it goes within the guidelines is another question, because it's not addressed by the guidelines. So this is where you come in and exercise basically your discretion, if that makes sense. So I'm going to start with Commissioner Suttles, if you want to give your thoughts.
Thank you. I'm going to take us back to our April 12th meeting. And at that time, I made two statements that this was going to take a whole lot more studying than 1 month study session, the next month voting. So we've certainly proved that in previous meetings. I appreciate George coming up and analyzing. This is huge to us. We have never had something this large to make a decision on. And Mr. Shumway is willing to negotiate and take some information back. I don't know the timeline for his motel hotel. I don't know the situation with the city of Prescott as to their dealing with the developer. But this is going to take more than today or even 1 or 2 more meetings. So with that being said, I appreciate getting into this. My first issue is height, hugely with the height. Next is the massing. I do understand you have to have one to get the other. This will take some work, but I do believe we can come to a group consensus on it. It needs to be done by us before it goes to the council. So with that, we're sort of putting out that carrot on a stick. Let's see what we can come up with. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Travis, you did, make your points pretty clear, but do you have anything to add?
I did. Taking from the guidelines, they say the pressure for larger, taller, and incompatible buildings around the downtown could cause a serious threat to the integrity of the district. I see this as a threat. I'm not totally against the project, and I do think we can probably come to a consensus, but it could be a big threat. Another thing from the guidelines, demolition of historic resources and the acquisition of several properties by a single developer to make way for a larger project degrades the scale of the district and results the loss of historic resources. So this weighs heavily on me because as a commission, this sets a standard. And I guess I don't have a question or a solution, but I think we can work together and possibly come to an agreement.
Thank you. Yeah, precedent is definitely something to keep in mind as well. As we did with a prior project, recently proposed. So thank you for bringing that up. Chairman Murko.
Well, I have the same issues as most all of us do. Of course, the massing, the height. I have a problem with some of the balconies, especially the ones on Goodwin. I'm not so crazy about the wrought, I believe, is the wrought iron I don't know, roofing, I guess it would kind of be. I don't.
Oh, the partitions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So even though there's nothing specifically in the guidelines prohibiting them, you're saying that those design elements aren't present elsewhere in the district. Is that kind of along with the extruded balcony?
Not present in the district that I know of.
Yes, that's
So
correct.
That's a concern of mine. And of course, the restaurant balcony, that would be setting another precedent.
Okay.
Those are 3 or 4 of my concerns.
Thank you. Commissioner King, did you have anything to add?
Absolutely nothing to add.
Okay.
I've just got a 12-page notes here to follow, so
You were quite thorough.
fasten your seatbelts.
Okay.
Great. No, I'm serious. I'm going to fasten your seatbelts.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch the sarcasm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Great moments are born from great opportunities. I didn't come here today to gripe and grind, to think about the past. I'm thinking about the future. And I know this weighs heavy on everybody here. It does for me. The city of Prescott put out an RFP in February, a few years ago, for a 1.3-acre redevelopment. The city desires to build a downtown project that incorporates the redevelopment momentum, incorporates pedestrian-friendly features, and enhances the city's economic base. That's the RFP. Then there's a sales agreement with Mr. Shumway's company. Where are you there? Thank you. With Territorial Holdings, which is a sales agreement. The only thing that's in that relies to about history and historical preservation is the centennial tree. And that's a misnomer because it's a bicentennial tree. So we didn't give a strong message to those people who were interested in redevelopment about our concern about historical preservation. We didn't do that right from the get-go. Right now, the first filter for that is this group right here that's in front of you. And so we've had, I appreciate what you're saying and the iterations that you're asking for input. I'm just setting a context here. Why we're here and where do we go from here. I want it to be positive and collaborative, and where we go together. And then we're proud of our results. You've opened yourself up to a open house the first thing, and we were there. And I just listened from what I'm hearing in the public, and they were saying, this doesn't look too bad. This is not Whiskey Row. You know, it's different than Whiskey Row. It fits in a little differently. We don't have to think about what we did in the Plaza Hotel. And with your analysis at the first time, Kaylee, was great, and it still is. All the elements are there. And part of our guidelines, it was brought up with, I think, Diane. And we have the attorney here, and we chatted this morning a little bit briefly about shells. Shall is not a law or a mandate that you have to. Because if I rely on that, my hands are tied. If it's going to be 48 feet, can't go any higher. Might as well go home. Setbacks, might as well go home. We're not going to, we have the flexibility in the shells to deviate from the guidelines, so to speak, as they're stated. We use things that are required, terms that say required, optional, words like should or generally should or encouraged. That gives us flexibility to still maintain the historical character of what we want to accomplish here in Prescott, and particularly the Courthouse Plaza and this proposed project that we asked for. And so I'll give you some feedback on where I'm coming from. I'm okay with the setbacks, even though it's in the guidelines says you should have, because I do think it believes it helps with the massing. It provides more opportunities. I'll give you some things about scale as well, too. But I'm okay with the setbacks. I think the texture changes, the angles, the pop-outs, the offsets, all of that help in dealing with the massing, and so do the setbacks. But now let's talk about the massing. There's several aspects of massing, but I'll just do the three that I want to address. There's the human scale that goes along with this. That's why I was dealing with the pictures you had there. It looked big on the very first when you're kitty corner. You could fall over backwards. You're saying, just doesn't fit. Some of the public said, this is going to be the focal point of Prescott's Plaza. I don't like it. That's what I heard. Only one person said that. I went through the whole public meeting and I went through the notes. Okay? But nonetheless, from the human scale, or when you stand next to when you look across from kitty corner, it looks big. You walk across the street and you walk down right on your property, what that you're going to develop. You have patios on the outside. You have windows that you can see into what's going on inside. You can see restaurants. You see openness. You can see things that actually provide for human scale, that it's inviting and engaging, and I want to be part of it. That's the human scale when you're inside, because you mentioned the inside ambiance that you're trying to provide as well. When you lower your ceilings, you still want 100 rooms. Well, now they're 8 by 8 instead of 12 by 12. I'm just kidding on the sizes. I don't know the size of a motel room. But anyway, so that ends of human scale is still compatible for me, even though it's big, because when you're still there. Now the building scale, that's why I'm dealing with this picture right here. When I put that in the proposed project next to the post office, I see compatibility. I see it from across the street too, where the alleyway, that's one that you took. The one I'm most disturbed by is the Cortez one. And I stood there this morning. I went walked all around the plaza. I saw those pictures real time this morning. And I took pictures from the Hot Shot Memorial. I took pictures from the Cowboy at Rest. It softens it because there's a contrast. If this is 48 feet, going with the guidelines, not that picture. Let's go back to the one, that one there. The building, you don't see the skylight. This is called the Prescott Basin. We live in the Prescott Basin. If I stand on that corner now, or a little bit to the left, I can see the skyline. I can see Palmer Hill. I can see Cross Hill. No matter what we do with this and follow the guidelines right to the T, you're not going to see it. So I can see that people would say, you know what, I lost my skyline. Never mind, I won't go anything else there. But this is the contrast. This fits my scale for building. So I got a human scale that works, and I got a building scale, and then I think it contributes to the contributing buildings. It doesn't take away from, it actually contributes to. And it gives you a sense of, let me use my, okay, here we go. Building scale from the Cowboy at Rest. The way the building contributes, and all three of these scales come together, it gives me a vibrant, it gives me a picture of scale and massing that it's a busy yet neighborly city center. In my opinion, it does not detract in any way from our national designation as a top 10 gathering place in America. It doesn't take away. Is it historical? Yes. Is it still with my view on scale? Yes. Massing is a little tough, but still scale is fine. All of the things that you've done with color, texture, are to be, and railings as opposed to glass, I applaud you for, because you're listening to people. You're listening to this group. Same with window design. There was a thing about consistency with transoms with Kaylee's analysis. If you're going to do something with windows and you want to improve on it, work on your transoms. Some consistency across the building. Now with Ms. Travers brought up replacing demolition. Demolishing the existing courthouse, old courthouse, and replacing it with a similar mass and scale is not what we have to do here. We don't have to replicate the size of the old city hall. It'd never work. Not to take away from the old city hall. It served its purpose. It was the architecture of the time. It had architectural integrity and character. It was before the guidelines. Okay, so now we have, we're facing this dilemma, so to speak, of demolishing the old building. All it has to do is whatever we build in its place, again, deal with the human aspects of scale, building aspects of scale, community aspects of scale as it relates to other contributing buildings. And so we're not trying to replace the old city hall. I'm going to let it go at that.
Okay.
You can loosen your seatbelt now.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Sprain.
Mine's only one page. I want to thank them, though, for all their hard work they've done and taken our comments to heart. The current vision that you've submitted includes changes to the balconies, the brick, the stucco, and I feel it's probably much better than it was, but I still have some reservations concerning the overall project. The Courthouse Plaza area is probably one of the most easily recognized downtown areas within Arizona itself. People from all over the state, the nation, and you'll find people from all over the world come to Arizona and walk downtown. They walk on Montezuma, Gurley, Goodwin, and Cortez streets. If we don't get this right now, the character of the plaza and Prescott could be altered forever. Going through a couple things from the internet in on architecture, I found a couple of paragraphs that I liked and want to read those. The first one is, it involves the thoughtful consideration of a building's height, width, and depth, ensuring that it fits seamlessly within its context, whether it is a bustling city or a central city center or a tranquil suburban landscape. As the building is now, I don't believe that it meets that category. The second one is, architects must balance the building's visual impact with its functionality and sustainability, creating structures that is not only serve the intended purpose, but also contribute positively to the surroundings. The building's scale plays a pivotal role in defining the character and skyline of the neighborhoods and the cities. Again, this doesn't fit. According to the guidelines of the Prescott Preservation Commission, it doesn't go above 3 stories at 48 feet. So the maximum height of any building shall be, I understand the definitions of shall, but it says 48 feet. We have no guidelines for anything over 3 stories. I don't think our commissions in the past have had to really deal with anything that would be over 3 stories. And then the last paragraph of our guideline reads, if a building is demolished with the official consent of the Preservation Commission, it shall be replaced with a building of similar massing and scale to contributing buildings to the district. The guidelines set forth in this document shall in all cases be followed for new construction to maintain the character of the historic downtown Prescott. I don't believe that really maintains that, but my personal problem is, if at all possible, if you are able to bring the building down to the 3 stories, to the 48 feet, within the guidelines of our commission, I feel the project would probably have a better chance of going forward. I would also like to see, since on the other end of Cortez Street, the Bucky O'Neill Hotel is being refurbished pretty much as we speak. This would be great, almost a bookend to the other side of Cortez Street, to be able to bring that street together within the historic districts of our town. And if even possible, you were talking about splitting the building, is making the building so it looks like it's part of downtown, a contributing part of downtown, and a continuation of downtown, rather than an extremely large mass building. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last but not least, Commissioner McCarver.
Hi. again, I want to join the others in thanking the developers for the efforts that they've put in. I read an article, letter to the editor by former City Council Jim Lamerson. It's been a month or so ago now, and he made a good point of thanking you for your willingness to invest in downtown Prescott. I just wanted to make mostly a couple comments about maintaining historic integrity and preserving our historic downtown area. I was on vacation in Italy recently and spent some time in Florence. If you've ever been there, in the old city center, there's some phenomenal historic buildings. There's a cathedral called the Duomo. There's a baptistry, a large tower. These were built in the 1400s. Beautiful. As the city expanded around that, at some point, the city fathers there had to make a decision: how much growth, and particularly in height, are we going to allow? Are we going to allow the Duomo and these other iconic buildings to be dwarfed? And they decided no building will be higher than the Duomo. And just reflecting on that, we have sort of a similar situation here. We don't have buildings that were built in the 1400s, but we have sort of an iconic historic downtown area that I think should be preserved. We have, fortunately, in the past, we have had some forward-thinking people who know a lot more about preservation than I do, who gave us a master plan and put down some guidelines for us to follow, so we can maintain that. I feel that we need to adhere to those guidelines, and my take on it would be, from an architectural standpoint, that we start with the guidelines as they're stipulated in the master plan. Start from there. If we have to adjust or expand or negotiate, we go from that point, not taking a building that in many ways deviates from the master plan and trying to scale down, or again, we start with where the master plan gives us good guidance and go from there.
Okay, thank you. Looks like George wants to say something. Or maybe he does not. All right. So I believe at this point, unless George or Shane want to come up, we're going to open it up to public comment. Yes, public comment. Or no? Okay.
We have two public comments. First is Ralph Rodarty.
My name is Ralph Rodarty. I have lived here in Prescott and was born here. As of this week, I turned 85. And my kids have asked me, why do you stay here and why have you not moved to more of an area that you can accomplish more? I stayed here because of what Prescott means to me and what it is. If you allow something this large to go downtown, you're going to have what started out at Prescott Valley with everything was kind of low, and then the fire took it down. But the thing is that let's keep Prescott what it is. People come from all over to see this small community. I live on Mount Vernon. People come by and say, we'd love to live, number one, on the street, but we'd love to live where the town is what it has been and what it will be. This building, not that we don't need more hotels, it is too large. I'm not against anything like that, but my suggestion is, number one, is split that building up in half. Put the parking in the middle, because there is a business right next to the parking lot, which is that house, which is a business. Put a building against that, put some of those rooms over there, and put the parking in between. It doesn't look massive. If something fails, that owners or whatever, it fails, we've got one massive building that'll be there. Look around as different areas are going now. Look at our shopping center up there. It was a beautiful shopping center, and then people start leaving. It's horrible to look at it up there. You drive through there, it's an empty building except for a few businesses. And that's going to happen to us if we allow big buildings to come in and do that. And if you allow your setbacks and your heights to vary, people are going to, if you give them an inch, they'll take a foot. If you give them a foot, they're going to take 3 more feet. So let's be strong. Let's deal with what we have. Let's make sure that we get something that fits downtown, that looks good. I don't like any of it right now. I do not like any of it, and I can tell you this: it's a sore eye, not to the developer. He wants to build something. That's his opinion. He should, but the thing is, he's got to do it in reality. My suggestion, once again, is build half of it, put a parking lot in like he has it, move it in there, and then build the other one over there, because I'm sure some of it will probably end up to be long-term rental, which we do need. People can't buy a house anymore. And there's older people like me that to take care of a yard, take care of a house, it's getting crazy. But anyway, so keep Prescott as a historical town. Let them build outside of town. Let them build away from us. But don't give up what we got here. It's just, it would make me very sad for my grandkids and great-grandkids to come down here and not see what it looked, what I enjoyed. And telling you what I enjoyed, I have never been in any of the bars. And I've lived here 85 years because I have no interest in drinking. So, but the thing is, driving around, I walk the courthouse every day, and that's my thrill, is to do that. But let's keep Prescott what it is. If with the height is 48 feet, that's it, not an inch more. But now we got to work on length. Now that we got this one going, now we got to work on length. But my suggestion is break it in half so it isn't as big as it is. To me, it's big and ugly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
Second and final speaker request, Doug Stroh.
Did you fill out a card?
Good morning, distinguished members of the Prescott Preservation Commission. My name is Doug Stroh. My address is 1577 Plaza West Drive. I started my architectural firm in Prescott over 32 years ago and was a member of the Prescott Preservation Commission for 13 years. You have before you a monumental decision that will forever define the history, culture, and design of the historic core of our great community. We only have one opportunity to get it right. The mixed-use building needs to be an excellent example of historic infill architecture that locals and tourists alike will want to experience. And hopefully in 50 years, the building will be considered to be a historic building in itself. I strongly feel the proposed megalithic structure does not meet our city historic preservation master plan or the request for proposals for mixed-use development issued by the city of Prescott. It does not enhance or contribute our downtown aesthetics or culture, nor really offer anything for local citizens. The hotel is approximately 2 times the massing of our courthouse And this design makes little attempt to break up the scale, and it's built right up to the sidewalk, eliminating any opportunity for external public space. The design appears to attempt to replicate the neoclassical architecture of the courthouse by utilizing fake limestone and stucco instead of being influenced by the vast majority of our brick colors and real stone buildings. The sample you saw was not real stone. It's concrete. The site plan is very weak, in my opinion, ignores the potential to create an entertainment district feeling. If the building had been set back about 50 feet, this would obviously be an exception to the downtown rules. But if it had been set back about 50 feet from Cortez, a linear plaza could be created. The entire first floor of the new building, in my opinion, should be unique retail and restaurants with high ceilings. Opening onto the plaza for outdoor dining with live music, fountains, art shows, flower planters, and trees to shade the people and buildings from the west summer sun and allow sunshine in the winter. Right now, the building is right on the street, no room for any landscaping, and that west sun's just going to cook it. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I also think being Prescott's first lot sold should be honored somehow. A great deal, if you did the plaza, a great deal of the historic stone wall could be kept in place to define that plaza, and the historic plaques reattached to it. The historic statue could be amongst the locals and visitors dining underneath the stars that way. It would really incorporate, the local citizens coming here and enjoying the plaza and enjoying a new outdoor experience. Based on the size of this building, rainwater should be harvested and stored to provide all the water needed for the urban forest to help offset the tremendous amount of potable water this building will use. 2 levels of parking with access from Cortez and the second level from the alley would yield 200 spaces. The parking would not be visible and located behind the first and second floors. As proposed, this is simply another hotel with a Hilton Garden quality restaurant to cater primarily to more tourists and their traffic. Nothing for Prescottonians except some bed taxes for the city, even though the city contributed greatly to this project. This hotel is being proposed by an out-of-town developer and contractor team that was chosen third place by a distinguished selection board made up of prominent long-term Prescottonians. The local team chosen addressed all the comments that I've just made. In closing, I want to quote a very honorable and respected Prescottonian who happens to be, at least in my opinion, a 5-star chef, Mr. Barry Barb. Barry says, the local team's vision was a true multi-use community property that offered a modest amount of hotel rooms operated as a local boutique hotel, in addition to long-term apartments. The concept also included
We need to step it up, sir.
Pardon me?
You're going on. It's over 4 or 5 minutes now.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the last couple sentences. The concept would have allowed more of the revenue derived from this corner remain local. Moving forward, there is an opportunity to create spaces that Prescottonians and locals will support. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have one more comment. Robert Munson.
Thank you for letting me speak. Is this thing working? Can you hear me? Okay.
If you would state your name.
I'm Bob Munson. I was raised in the Verde Valley, and when I was a kid, going to the big city was going to Prescott. So I have very fond memories of Prescott. I also, at one point in my life, was architectural historian for the Arizona State SHPO. So when I got into town, finally made it back here, I heard about this process and started attending last month. My initial gut reaction was I looked at the building as it was being presented and I did not like it. The massing was way out of scale. The texture and the surface stylistic was inappropriate to what Prescott was. Now, having bombed everything like that, I'm going to turn it around and say, I have to take my hat off to all of you, to all of you folks, because you've shown a sincere effort to try to make it work. And I have a tremendous respect for what everybody here has done. I do have a couple thoughts to make. This building is going to be an intrusion on a historic district. That could be setting a very bad precedent, so it's got to be right if it's going to become a precedent. I think you folks are on the road to coming up with the correct solution to this. I think you're all willing and ready to work for it. So I just wanted to say, I hated the building. It looked like a factory, or it looked like it should be on the south coast of France as a resort. I have changed my opinions on that. And I look at the folks here, and your willingness to work all together, I think is very important. So I had a whole wad of notes that I was going to bring up here. You've been blessed by the fact that I forgot and left them at home. So anyhow, I just wanted to make that comment, that I have seen a lot of cities do a lot of things wrong because they don't want to take the time, the effort, and the willing to work together that I've seen here today. So I take my hat off to you and to you. So, and I've also been very impressed by Kaylee Nunez, because she's the one who's had to put up with me over the last 4 weeks. So, okay, I don't want to go over, but that's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
No further public requests.
Shane, I believe you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I would just like to address a couple of comments, because now this is the second public meeting where something to this nature has been said. And I'd like to clarify just a couple of things. Mr. Stroh, how many stories was your submittal? 4. It was 4 stories. Your original submittal was 4 stories. The final one was 4 stories, yes. What you submitted to the RFP?
What's going on?
So they continue to say that we're not local, that we do bad stuff at the Hilton Garden Inn, that we're not a good operation, and this has to be addressed. I'm tired of hearing this in these public meetings. We contributed to a public park and built a public park. We redeveloped 2 historic buildings in downtown Prescott, and I don't want anybody mistaken about the type of citizens that we are when we operate in a local community, and it is tiresome. What I would really appreciate is if you could just give me the 3 things that, in your mind, I can take and work with our design team to say, these are clear things that we can do. And I think if we can do that, I can come back and say, okay, we've implemented these things, but I do need them to be clear so that I know what to do.
Okay, so we'll go down the line again. All right, Commissioner Suttles.
Thank you. My concern first is height. The second part is was brought up, and the more I looked at it, the Cortez side as to what you can do. Try to pull in a little bit more landscaping if possible. And if it needs to be broke up into 2 buildings or more, I've never built one of these buildings, so I'm really not good at it. But we need to do some massaging, and I still think we can come up with something.
Can I just reiterate to you to make sure I'm hearing height is important to you?
Yes.
Something related to massing in terms of splitting up the building.
Yes.
Somehow. You mentioned a desire for landscaping. I would need to understand how to both meet the no offset requirement and do landscaping.
So the guidelines actually do not favor landscaping between the building and right of way, because if go around the courthouse, it's like the buildings are right up to the sidewalk. So, and I know there was a speaker up here who said it needs to be offset and there should be landscaping, and the guidelines don't actually favor that. So take that for what you will.
And I will, please put it on your list.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Travis?
Diane Travis, I don't think I really have much more to add. I would be willing to waiver on the height a little bit if we can get the mass of the Cortez side reduced somehow, and I appreciate all the work you're going through. I know this is a lot of time, a lot of money being spent in these design reviews, and when we ask you to redraw something, that's not a simple task. So I appreciate your willingness to work with us, but I think my main concern is going to be the Cortez appearance.
Thank you.
Okay, Chairman Mirko?
Again, height, mass, setbacks. Those would be my 3 concerns.
Okay. I'll let him finish his notes.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner King?
Okay, thank you. You're at 53 feet at the maximum right now, but generally you're 48 all the way along Cortez. I think you said 49 or something in there. So
about halfway down Cortez, it comes close to getting to that 48 foot.
Yeah. Well, if the guidelines say 48 feet, we're a little bit more than that. As I stood there this morning, if it was 50 feet and 6 feet difference, it would not change the view shed that you would have or see or compare it to the other buildings. So my visual is it doesn't have to be 48 feet, but there seems to be a consensus that that's the guideline, let's stick with it. So, if we can get as close as we can to 48, that would be where I'd come. There are provisions for variances. We do it in this city. Special use permits for here. I think the Hilton Gardens got one of those permits. The building we're in now, I think I even got one. Massing from Cortez, that's sir. You heard me say that. That's the same kind of thing. It's got a aircraft carrier look from Cortez Street, and setbacks are fine with me. You heard some things from Mr. Stroh, an architect. If there would be materials or design features that kind of bring us back to the neoclassic, the Chicago style of the past, but not too much, because you can't do that. You can't make a new building look like an old building. We don't want that. This is not Disneyland, where we make Fantasyland and Frontier Village. It's got to set itself apart, but still have a connection, contributing. Now, if this may be my last time to chat, and so I'm going to keep chatting. You've said it. Every one of us up here have thanked you for your diligence in working on this project, and so has it come from the public. I want to restate the phrase from the RFP. The city desires a project that builds upon the downtown development momentum. My wife and I have lived here for 29 years. The city council has developed a YouTube video, Tony Tennille. This is where we live, work, and play. This is not Disneyland. It's not an artificial. We've survived 100 and some odd years with maintaining some of our architectural character. I've seen the momentum in my 29 years. We got a parking garage. We got a Spring Hill Suites. We got a Hilton Gardens Conference Center. We got a vibrant Elks Opera Theater that was falling apart when I moved here. We got a new library. We got new restaurants, new fitness clubs, outstanding recreation opportunities, new regional parks being planned, new high-tech businesses, a new airport terminal, fire-wise communities, and a healthier forest. The list goes on. I would like to see Territorial Holdings be part of that tradition of momentum. You offered that. I'd like the collaboration of what we can do together to make this a success for you, for the community at large, and for our historical goals for the downtown courthouse as well as our whole community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sprain.
Like the others, it's mostly the massing and the height that has to do with it. I don't know if you're able to do an underground parking where you're able to combine so you can bring some of the parking lower and...
So can I address that?
Please.
Underground parking is extraordinarily expensive, and so you need additional height. To build underground parking, and then in order to make a project still pencil financially, you need the height in order to get additional units. Am I making sense?
Not really. So you're saying even though you build down, you're going to have to go up further?
That's right. Because of how costly it is.
Diane Travis here. So in construction, yes, the cost of the parking garage or the underground parking would require the additional height to recoup that money. Is that correct?
That's right.
More rooms to recoup the cost of underground parking.
Okay, never mind. I don't know if there's a way, rather than splitting up the building, if you're able to maybe make it so it kind of blends in a little more in the sense that you can make them look like separate buildings and with different heights, a little bit different architecture for each one instead of one massive, large aircraft carrier, I believe I heard.
Okay.
Thank you. And Commissioner McCarver.
Thanks again. Wonderful. 3 things. Looking at the guidelines, 3 stories, 48 feet. Just an aside on that. The map that I'm using says the base elevation of the courthouse is 58 feet. Base elevation of the city hall is 5371. So you're starting 13 feet higher than the courthouse anyway.
Sorry, what's the height of the courthouse?
The base elevation, I'm looking at elevation change from courthouse base to elevation at the base of the city hall. 13 feet higher, if my map is correct.
Oh, okay.
So 3 stories, 48 feet, setbacks. And if I'm reading the master plan, 50% of the first floor can be setback. 0% of the second and third floor can have setbacks. You know, the massing, my feeling would be if it was 3 stories and I don't think the massing would bother me too much as far as splitting it into different buildings. So that's my 3 stories, 48 feet, and setbacks.
Can I just ask some questions about this? this is the first time that I've heard the guidelines interpreted as limiting to 3 stories. I have heard the guidelines interpreted as no more than 48 feet, but I have never heard it interpreted as no more than 3 stories.
It's in the staff report, but it doesn't. Yeah, it just stops at 3 stories in the 48 feet. It is. Yeah, it was in the staff report, but maybe we haven't talked about it in the
the
public
guidelines
hearing yet.
That was implied. I don't think it says you shall not build more than 3 stories. There's nothing in the guidelines to give us help with sorting that out, and it implied to me 3 stories.
Yeah, there's a bullet point guideline under building size and scale. The last bullet point, no building shall be greater than 48 feet in height. It doesn't say that no building shall be greater than 3 stories. We will do our best. I asked for a little bit of flexibility because as I read that, I do hear some flexibility in what that is saying. So.
Yeah, I do apologize. I guess I didn't put 3 stories. I mean, the guidelines have been, I couldn't get all 40 pages, but I do apologize. Yeah, there's not the 3 stories. I thought it was inferred because that's all it goes up to when it's talking about the wider the building, the taller it should be. Okay.
It's also written in the master plan in
Yes.
Chapter 8.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for the feedback.
Okay.
All right. So we have the whole gamut here for the recommended action. We can also, there's also one more option is to defer. And my recommendation would be to not do a date specific because, given your input, the developer is going to have to make some pretty large changes to the design.
That's agreed. So, do we have a motion to defer?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make that motion at this time to defer with some direction from City of Prescott and our developer as to when do we meet again, what it's going to entail. And as you stated, not a particular date, but this needs to move as quick as it can.
Just move to defer until, design has been revised. I'm not involved. I just want to clarify, commission, myself was not involved with the RFP and the purchase agreement. So as far as timelines that need to be adhered to for that, I cannot speak to that. I don't know if
Let me
anyone
help
else
you.
wants to chime in.
I move to defer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Diane Travis, I second to defer.
And do we have a vote for defer? Okay, it's passed.
Great. And that's all the voting items we have. Staff update, State Preservation Conference the week after next. So we've got that all ready to roll. I've been working with the state on that quite diligently, and that should be quite exciting. And I believe most of you will be able to attend. So thank you.
Kaylee, will we be hearing from them about where to show up, where to register, and how this stuff goes?
It's at the Hacienda Inn. I have registered you all.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, that part I know.
And I
but,
can re-forward the agenda to you.
Okay, thank you. That's what I don't know, what all of the logistics
Sure.
of this and,
Yes.
and where meals are and where to gather for it. But once you register, you'll get all that with a packet.
I will forward that to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other
So,
comment?
yeah, Mike, last year's meeting or conference, they use an app called WebEx, and you can sign up on that WebEx app, and I can give you the information to it, and you can see the agenda and all the classes and put in there what classes you want to attend or what seminars you want to attend.
We're already registered in all our classes. They're closed or open, whatever. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, the app is helpful if you're an app-oriented person, but also send the PDF. And that is all I have.
Okay. Any other comments or no?
I have one. I have
Mike
one.
King again.
Okay.
I want to compliment Mr. Shumway for bringing his son here today to see Dad at work. Okay, thank you for there you go, way to go. I saw you come in, and not too many of us have that opportunity to share our time with our dads these days, so God bless you, thank you.
Okay, then.
Thank
I
you.
adjourn this June 14th meeting of the Prescott City of Prescott Preservation Commission.